This is Quick Clip Lesson 2.04, Part 2, where we discuss isotopes and ions. In the previous video, we learned about the atomic mass and how that's comprised of protons and neutrons. Our example was lithium with 3 protons and 4 neutrons, and it gave us a total of 7. But when we look at the periodic table, we don't see 7, we see 6.94, and that's where we left off. Now, why would it be 6.94? Well, the answer to that is that 6.94 represents an average of all the different lithium atoms. So most lithium atoms have this organization of 3 protons and 4 neutrons with a mass of 7, but some will have a mass of 6. And that leads us to what we call isotopes. Isotopes are versions of the same type of atom, but with different masses. So lithium, for example, let's say we had 10 lithium atoms, 9 of which had a mass of 7. 1 had a mass of 6. Well, if we average that together, first we would add them all up, and we would get a total of 69, divided by 10, because there's 10 of them there, and we get 6.9. And we would get an average of all of the different types of atoms. And that's what we see at the bottom of every tile of the periodic table. We see an average of all the different isotopes. So again, the most common one would be lithium-7, where it has 3 protons, 4 neutrons, and has a mass of 7. And we would write that Li-7. There are other ways to identify isotopes, but this is probably the way that you'll see it in your text. Another lithium could be something like this: 3 protons, but only 3 neutrons. And so that total would be 6. The way we would write that would be lithium-6. So remember, isotopes is determined by the number of neutrons. Again, the protons do not change. The neutrons can change in number, and that's going to change the mass of each isotope. So what have we learned so far? All right, in the last video, we learned that protons identify the atom, that the protons do not change, and if the protons change, then the element changes. Then we learned that neutrons add mass to the nucleus, and the amount of neutrons can be different for each atom, and that will cause different masses, and these are called isotopes. The way we would write that would be something like C-14, or carbon-14, or Li-6, or lithium-6. Now the last thing we need to speak about are the electrons. Now the electrons can have a different number, and those are called ions. So here we see that ions are a version of an atom with a different number of electrons to protons. So again, with lithium, the normal lithium will have 3 electrons and 3 protons. And important to remember that protons have a positive charge, electrons have a negative charge. Neutrons have no charge, they're neutral. So when we combine the pluses and the minuses, they wipe each other out. They cancel each other out, so there is no charge. It's not any more positive or any more negative. However, we might have a lithium with an extra electron. So in this case, it has a 4th electron, and so it has a charge of -1. And the way we would write that is lithium with the superscript -1 above it. And this would be called an anion. And then another example is if we had the 3 protons for lithium, but it lost an electron. So now it has 3 protons and only 2 electrons. So now when we combine the pluses and minuses, we find this atom to be more positive. And so it has a +1 charge. We would write this as lithium +1. And this would be called a cation. All right, so between the two videos, we've covered a lot of material. Please review them, and I'll see you on the next one.